And, and I think the town is waiting for us to say, what is the village's preference? I
So
don't
is
think
it sort of on hold?
No, I mean, listen, they're still in the design process. They have a state grant. Well, technically it's a federal grant like we have for the Hillside Bridge. So they're going through their process of finishing their final design report. Going through all the studies they need to do as part of the process with the state. There's some question about whether it requires a consistency review from our local HCZM. The town classified as a type 2 action because it's replacing a bridge with a bridge, so no further environmental studies were required. I don't have any additional information other than that there has been some commentary from the local community asking that maybe a different direction is pursued with that bridge. I'm trying to be as kind as I can be with some of the terminology.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you clarify, you said that Washingtonville said they wanted the Waverly Avenue Bridge.
The issue is
who that is? Is that a
Washingtonville is,
or
no, the Washingtonville neighborhood is the streets that directly surround Waverly Avenue Bridge. Is that the Alliance? No. The Washingtonville Housing Alliance that's a separate.
So it's Center Avenue and it's Plaza and it's Waverly and
different
Washington Street
on those streets.
Yeah, what people commonly refer to as the flats
Right.
is what I refer to as Washingtonville.
right.
I don't use the term the flats myself.
Okay.
Good.
And if you've driven by in the last month or so, there is almost every house on the streets have signs saying, don't use as a cut through, use Hoyt Avenue.
Yeah, I mean,
Right. So that has to do with the bridge, because I've seen that on other streets also, those signs.
Well, I think trustee.
What does that have to do with the bridge? I was confused.
So, Deputy Mayor Wenstrup, I think, wants to make a comment.
So let me try to give some extra background here. We've been hearing from residents of Washingtonville, Center Street, Madison, that their neighborhood has become cut-throughs between Fenimore and Mamaroneck Avenue in both directions. So they would like to see the traffic cut. Ideally, they would like to see no traffic allowed over the Waverly Avenue Bridge into their neighborhood. They would like to see all the traffic diverted to Hoyt Avenue instead. As part of the bridge construction project, the bridge will be shut down at some point and traffic will be diverted to Hoyt Avenue. A stoplight will be put in front of the ice house to deal with the backlogs. And we're going to take that opportunity to see what happens. I mean, is the traffic pattern using Hoyt only sustainable? I don't know. We're going to look and we're going to see how that happens. Whether the bridge gets replaced, the bridge has to be replaced because we can't get fire trucks into and out of that area well without that bridge. So the fire department is also involved in those discussions, and they're going to need to have a good functioning bridge. The bridge is crumbling, and so it needs to be replaced anyway. We also believe that commercial traffic is not allowed as a cut through anyway on Waverly Avenue. That's an enforcement issue. That law is already in place. So we need to enforce that to help those residents with that traffic piece of the problem. So that's just a broader picture.
Well, this all goes back a good 30 years, when I first moved to Waverly Avenue. And Hoyt was expanded, widened, just for the purpose of taking traffic away from Washingtonville, the Waverly Avenue area. As a resident of that area, and I was active on the Washingtonville neighborhood program and all that, and also, in other venues, the Waverly Avenue Bridge is a horrible thing for flooding. The water backs up there because the river there, the Sheldrake, is too shallow and it's too narrow. And when you get water coming down, from up north, it can't, the Sheldrake can't handle it. And it hits the water rises, it hits that bridge and it backs up. It floods Waverly, its Center, Washington, and causes extreme damage and flooding. The last time we had a serious flood there was a damn refrigerator freezer stuck under that bridge. It had washed down from Lord only knows where, stuck there. Well, I don't know, Peggy, but it was stuck there. And of course, that prevented any water from getting through and exacerbated the flooding in the whole area.
Yeah.
So the residents of Washingtonville want that bridge out. They want done with the Waverly Avenue Bridge what was done with the Center Avenue Bridge. And I don't see logistically how you can make the bridge high enough, a new bridge, high enough to prevent flooding and still have an angle. In other words, you have to have an approach to the bridge from both directions. And if you have to raise the height of the bridge over the surface of the water, the angle increases and you have to go maybe 3 or 4 houses into Waverly and 3 or 4, 100, maybe 100 feet back on Waverly towards Fenimore from the other side of the bridge. Otherwise, you're not going to do anything and you're just going to promote more flooding in the future. So I haven't spoken up this time, but Dan knows my feelings.
Yeah.
We all do, Paul. We've heard this.
Yeah, I said, I think.
Yeah, well, but it's true.
I know
And,
it's true. I know it's true.
just, the fire department says yes, they need, and they always say that, but I think they could find a way of getting trucks down there, or have just a bridge that comes down like a drawbridge. In an emergency, it just flops down unless the fire trucks go through. Then it comes back up. Meanwhile, people are using Hoyt, and actually Washingtonville becomes a separate community. And I think that's what they are looking for now, with all their signs saying, use Hoyt. That's what Hoyt was widened for. So I won't go on anymore. Yeah, you've heard my canned speech, but yeah, dynamite, Wile E. Coyote. I pass.
Okay.
Okay, so other bridges. Route 1. So we're looking at July 1 start date for that, July 1, 2020. I'm sorry, 2021. Hopefully assuming we'll be able to have a carnival and parade next year after all the festivities are complete. Actually, there was just a press release from the governor on this, about the 3 projects. The Route 1 bridge is part of 3 bridges they're replacing. And thankfully, as confirmed by the governor, there will be traffic over the bridge while it's being replaced. So we won't have to worry about a shutdown of Post Road, which will be a tremendous benefit for us. So I think the press release was just from, might have been earlier this week, yesterday or last Friday.
How are they going to do that, Dan? They're going to do one side of the street and then the other?
I don't know. I haven't seen the final, what they call the maintenance protection of traffic plan. but that's probably what they're gonna do. But, and, you know, the biggest benefit for the village, there will be a flood benefit. They're gonna reinforce the bottom of the bridge. But there's a tremendous pedestrian benefit for us in that there will be sidewalks on both sides of the bridge now. Right now, it's only on the, now it's the Chabad side of the bridge. The south side, people have to walk in the road if they want to walk over there.
Dan, a question for you. When you say they're going to reinforce the underside of the bridge, is there a way to make sure they don't do what they did on the Halsted Avenue Bridge when they lowered the span? Because that blocked more water than it did before that was replaced?
Well, I think, I can't recall what the exact term was in the press release, but it will be, the underside of the bridge will be strengthened. They're not proposing to lower the court height of the bridge. I know that. I've seen that, so. Yeah,
I just hate for it to all of a sudden be where we were when the county took care of the Halsted Avenue Bridge for us.
If I could make one more comment, Dan and Kelly, on, Hoyt Avenue. I've heard the talk of putting a traffic light at the corner of Hoyt and Fenimore. But you've got, I think this was looked at before and the DOT didn't like the idea because you're coming down Fenimore Road from Prospect. You're not going to be able to see that light.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to put it on both sides of the train track. This is a town project and they had their traffic people looking at it as, knowing that there's going to be additional traffic coming onto Hoyt. Maybe they'd have a light on either side. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we've mentioned that. I mean, during our monthly meeting, I mentioned that the approach heading northbound, you're obscured by that train track. That's why we kept the stop sign at that intersection. That was only put up maybe 10 years ago as it was supposed to be a temporary sign while they were doing some improvements along that corridor. But after everything was said and done, we said, we looked at it as a staff and said, you have such a visual obstruction with that train bridge.
Yeah.
That having that stop sign is a necessity.
You can't have an overhead light.
Well, you have to have you'd have to have it. We talked about having something on the south side of that bridge for the northbound traffic. If that's confusing enough. I mean, it's not the greatest. I'll leave it at that.
No.
That's something that I did bring up with the traffic engineers from HVEA. And
Maria?
I'm sorry, while we're back on the Waverly Avenue Bridge, is the residential comment period still ongoing on that, or is that closed?
that closed as of the end of last Friday.
Okay.
I think we received about 5 or 6 comments, very constructive comments though.
Okay.
And I think there were some of the people who commented during this time also commented during the initial period when the town had their presentation back in May.
Okay. The last point on the agenda, Dan, is the water testing that we've been asking for I'd say more than a year.
Yeah, so back in March, which feels like 7 years ago, after our flood committee meeting, I spoke to Peter Linderoth, who works for Save the Sound.
Yep.
He's a member of the Marine Education Center Advisory Committee. And when I discussed, testing up near the northern border, he was fine with that. Obviously, I haven't really followed up with him on that. I don't know what type of testing they've done this year, but I will speak to him and see if there's any opportunity to get anything done this summer.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have anything before I move forward? Okay. I got a lengthy email from someone up in the Heights regarding the project, which we've all spoken about briefly in these meetings, 1602 Ellis, which is the vacant lot, which is right along the river, that's in the process of going through a very lengthy application to build. And I know that there's been tremendous change in the building department. And so my neighbors have been reaching out to the building department again and again and again and again. And they've spoken to a gentleman named Matthew on 6173720, just to get updates to find out what's happening, have all the proper tests been done, HEC-RAS, water flow, blah, 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 blah. And they keep being told nothing. Nobody knows.
So the Magnatas emailed me
Dan,
last week.
Dan,
What?
I was being very careful not to say
Okay. So the residents emailed me. Listen, the email's public information, but regardless, the residents emailed me. We received a building permit application a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know.
No, in December, I thought.
No, that was for they were on a BAR agenda back in December. And the original request was, what was the process gonna be? And I put together about a 3 or 4 page memo, which I think you and the neighbors received a copy of. I said something to the effect that they were gonna have to do a SWIP, and they were gonna have to show several items on their plan. When we received the initial application, I sent a copy of that memo that I prepared back in early January. I sent that to our consulting engineer, and I said, this is what I'm not asking you to do anything above and beyond what you normally do, but this is what we committed for the neighbors, what we said we were going to do. And I specifically asked him if on the application the floodway was shown. I asked him to make sure that was done. I don't think they did. I know that I don't know if he's given us his memo yet on the initial review. I have checked my email. I did respond to the residents that I wouldn't just give them documents as they come in, but they can certainly foil us for them and we make them available. Again, this is what we would ask of any resident who is seeking to find plans or anything like that. I did get the email. When I first got the application, I was very deliberate in making sure our consulting engineer had everything that I sent you. And because that memo, when I prepared it, was reviewed by Hernani, it was reviewed by other members of the building department. I made sure that once we issued that memo, that everyone got a copy of it, and then we kept it in the building department file so that we knew that when something came in, we were gonna make sure that the concerns of the
Proper
residents
procedures
were.
are followed.
So I'm more than happy to, I'll find the email I sent to the residents back.
No, I have it.
Oh, you do? Okay, so you have the copy. Okay.
I'll find that. I was questioning, and then COVID hit, and
Yeah.
never really got back to ask you. When I wanted to build, if you recall, and wanted to put the extension on the house, and we wanted to put 2 piers into the ground, we were told by the building department we had to do a HEC-RAS study specifically. And that was hugely expensive, and that's how we ended up cantilevering, because it was cheaper.
So
I can't imagine why, if they're also building in proximity to the floodway, they wouldn't need to do the same study.
I'll review. I don't know if I said, I can't recall if I got the response memo from the engineer yet. But as I said, that if there was anything that called for it, we would probably ask them to complete that as part of the SWIP. I don't know if they're proposing to build, I guess, over the floodway like you did. I haven't, so. But
And the other thing we talked about was locating the garage on the riverside rather than putting the garage as the original. There were plans submitted, Dan.
No, they submitted plans as part of their.
As part of the BAR thing?
For the BAR.
So
And that's not what the building plans are.
that's different. Okay, so that's my misunderstanding, sorry. But there was a comment made, why isn't the garage, which isn't habitable space, being put on the side of the river? And the residential living space that is habitable and will be on the ground, put on the far side, so it would be less of a risk.
I'll review the original memo and letter. I honestly, I can't recall that. And not to say it wasn't there, I just can't remember if
I
it was
do.
in there.
Okay,
But I said, I think the memo I prepared back in January tried to address all of the comments that were raised by both you and
I think those were more
at the BAR.
flood stuff rather than design questions.
Okay,
I'll look back, but
Yeah.
but
But
that
that-
was something we were concerned about.
yeah, I mean, I was pretty sure to try and address all of those comments in that original memo.
I'll go back and have a look, but it still is something that is of concern.
Okay.
It just doesn't
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Big
And
flood zone.
I said, if you want to, if anyone wants to submit a foil on it, I'll make sure that
I will.
everything we have is
The
sent out.
other
posted.
thing that is of concern on that lot is it has not been maintained by the owner. The grass is extremely high. There are all kinds of critters and potentially snakes kicking around in that property.
I
And
will-
they've reached out to the what's the proper term? The person who gives the citations when you're out of compliance with stuff like that.
Yes, the code enforcement.
Code enforcer, thank you.
Yeah, I'll ask them to take a look at it tomorrow. I mean, unfortunately, it's actually a pretty high threshold, both in terms of, I think you can have up to 10 inches high before we're allowed to cite on the
It's
state
really
code.
high.
It's about that, okay. So I'll ask
Thank you,
our code enforcer to take a look at it.
thank you. Okay. That's all I've got.
Okay,
Anybody else have anything?
Nice to see you all.
Thank you, nice to see you all.
Same here.
Dan, thank you for joining us. It's a big help when you're here.
oh, thank you.
Kelly's great, but you have all the answers.
Yep.
So it's really good to have you with
Good
us.
to have Kismet fall in our lap with George attending exactly when I
That
said.
was unbelievable. Nobody would believe it unless they saw it on our Zoom. Without further ado, shall we call this meeting to an end?
You just need a motion to close and a vote.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
They go a lot faster on Zoom.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, I got one question for you.
Sure.
Library is gonna need, we're gonna have to put a crane, need a crane permit for a new cooling tower up on the roof.
Okay.
See you on that?
Me or the manager's office, but yeah, we'll make sure it gets taken care of.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll talk to you then.
okay, you got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.